Welcome to the Hotter Than Health podcast, a podcast and resource for those looking to expand and elevate their lives. Each week, we will bring you provocative topics, engaging interviews, and some of the biggest names in health and wellness to answer your burning questions. Each episode, you will leave with tangible tips and takeaways so that you can immediately begin to elevate and optimize your life. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Hotter Than Health. I am so excited for this episode because I feel like almost every week I get questions on hormones and how to not have such but almost painful periods, how to deal with PMS, and also this just is something I've personally been thinking about since I honestly started my period when I was 13. I thought about what we're putting into our bodies. I would think, oh my gosh, well, these are plastic and scented tampons or whatever other pads that you're using might be. They might just be more like a diaper. They're uncomfortable, and a lot of the different materials and plastics that are used in there can be uncomfortable and cause irritation. Being on your period is an experience enough in itself, and I know a lot of people who have struggled with periods in the past. They have struggled with birth control, they've struggled with cramps, they've struggled with bloating, acne, different situations going on with their hair and their moods especially. So we don't need to be necessarily worrying about what physical products we're putting on our body at this time, right? That is why I'm so pumped for our guest today. Today we have on I'm just so excited. Today we have on Sora Park. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at Rael. All right. I reached out to Rael when I saw a couple of influencers that I follow on social media talking about how there's finally a brand out there who's catering to women at all phases of their cycle. And I thought, okay, well, that's good marketing, blah, blah, blah. I did a little more research. I did a little more digging. I looked at their products. I looked at the ingredients. I looked at how they were sourcing it and how they were actually running the mission of their company. And I thought, I have got to reach out to them. Luckily, they gave me the time of day. And not only that, they were incredible. So I just want to say that they sent me a package of PR of different skincare and face masks and different hot spot patch treatments for any acne that you may get during that time of the month. And I have used nearly half of their product. It is now set up. The whole skincare line that they offer is now set up in my bathroom. Usually when I see a skincare brand that is new or that's trying to be, new in the industry, the scents are so aggressive and they're harsh and they feel like plastic chemicals, and it's not the vibe. And especially when you're on your period, I feel like you just want something really mild and soothing and calm. And then when you're on other phases of your cycle, you're more open to maybe a citrusy smell, or you're into more of a hydration situation, more collagen focused, like not as much acne prone. And I know this is getting a bit long, but I used to struggle really, really badly with acne. And I mean cystic acne to the point where I just could not keep up with my acne. It would be like 3 cystic zits all within 1 inch of each other on my chin. I would try and get rid of one, 2 more would pop up next to it. If I tried to get rid of it, I would have to, cover it up with a bunch of makeup. That would clog everything more. If you are a girl who has struggled with acne, then you know what I'm talking about. It's so tough. And there are some people who really haven't struggled with acne, but maybe you have struggled with fatigue and cramps and bloating, or really long periods or painful periods. However it has affected you, this is a real conversation, talking about how our bodies change throughout the month, and what products can we actually be using, and what types of methods can we actually be using during different times of our cycle to really not alleviate symptoms, but support our body's natural rhythms and cycles. Because I feel like a lot of people are at this point when they try and fight their bodies. You know, they're feeling bloated, so they feel like they have to work out harder, or they're feeling a lot of energy, so they feel like they eat out of balance, and then they go out and drink more, and then they lose some of that energy. I feel that we are just at this point where we're starting to talk about the entire cycle, not just your period, not just PMS, but all the phases around it. The conversation that I have with Sora goes everywhere. We talk about digestion and poop when you're on your period. We talk about cystic hormonal acne when you're on your period or about to be. We talk about the 2 weeks before your period when you're feeling awesome, or when you're ovulating. We also talk about clean skincare and how it means so much. We definitely do talk about the negative impacts of chemicals and fragrances. We talk about other products on the skincare market, the inspiration behind the brand, also Korean rituals. Like, we talk all about different foods to eat during what times. This is such a great conversation. I had the best time with Sora Park. Thank you so much in advance for listening and enjoying this episode. Well, that was quite an intro. But for those who are listening for the first time, I know you will absolutely love this episode. And if you are someone who is on birth control and maybe you don't even get a period anymore, this still pertains to you, because hormones and the female cycle doesn't just always stop. And if it does, it'll come back. Or if you're pregnant, or if you're trying to become pregnant, maybe you're irregular, maybe you're irregular. This goes for every single woman. And fuck it, if you're a man, you can listen to this as well, because you should understand what is going on in the body and in the mind at certain times of the month, because this is not a taboo topic. Most of the world goes through this. So that's my position on things. Without further ado, we are doing a giveaway with Rael Beauty, and we're going to be giving away a massive package of their skincare. All you have to do is make sure you head to my Instagram go to Apple Podcast, make sure you're following, as well as on Spotify that you're following. Just click follow or subscribe. If you want an extra chance to win, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, I'll be looking at the comments on the most recent the most recent upload to my Instagram on Hotter Than Health podcast. So if you leave your favorite part of this episode on the post about this episode, then you will be entered in to win a bomb-ass package of skincare. And when I tell you they are generous in their packages, I mean, there were probably 30-40 products in there. I mean, face masks galore, heating pads galore. It was amazing. Without further ado, thank you so much for listening, and I'm so excited for this episode with Sora Park of Rael Beauty. I think that this type of episode is long overdue. We have a lot of episodes talking about hormones and one-off situations as it pertains to nutrition and wellness, but I think that having an episode for the girls talking about the cycle and how to feel your best at every part of your cycle, we're just far overdue for that. Before we get into talking about the cycle, please tell us a little bit about Rael Beauty. What are we talking about here? I keep saying Rael Beauty, but Rael, I don't know how else to say it, all encompassing as its own brand and entity.
Yeah, sure. So Rael is a pretty new brand. It was started about a little less than 5 years ago by 3 women originally from South Korea. And after moving to the US, one of the biggest culture shocks for them was actually the lack of quality period care. You know, one of the founders oftentimes suffered from irritation and allergic reactions to a lot of the conventional pads in the market.
Wow.
So funny enough, she every time she would go back to Korea, she would hoard and bring back a suitcase full of Korean period care products because they were just so much more comfortable to use.
Was this based on the ingredients? Did she notice immediately, oh my gosh, these products are really messing with my body?
Yeah. I mean, I think, first off, it's one, just overall comfort. Like she felt a clear difference in almost like the stickiness of the pads in the US. A lot of them are made out of things like plastics and styrofoams, which you never think twice about. But, that's what really ends up making that experience so unpleasant, I think. And so that plus just her skin being more sensitive, she would develop rashes from using these products.
If you know me, you know that water is the most important thing that I am consuming. So not only is it carrying my greens juice, it's carrying my tea, it's carrying my water, it's hydrating me, it's keeping my kidneys clear, it's keeping my brain functioning and my muscles loose. Introducing Analemma. Analemma is a revolutionary technology, and you probably remember it from a podcast episode that we did with the founder just a couple of weeks ago. So, Analemma is a new device that radically changes the state of our drinking water. It rearranges the H2O molecules in your water to go from a chaotic state where they're running around, bumping into each other, to a more fluid, crystalline structure. So the structure and its stability has remarkable influence on all living things. That goes for your plants, your animals, and you. So some of the benefits that you can see from Analemma water is biological age rejuvenation, so essentially aging backwards, balancing of the brainwaves, increased vitality. Essentially, what we're doing is we are using this Analemma stick. We are unscrewing it from its safety packaging and we're stirring it into our water. You can stir this. I have been stirring this into my giant water filter at my house so that all the water that I consume throughout the day is Analemma water, and it has that beautiful crystalline structure. It's not chaotic water, it is coherent water. You're going to hear me talking a lot about this for the next little bit because I am totally obsessed. You've seen it on my Instagram videos, and I have made sure to tell all of my hydration focused friends, anyone who's an athlete, anyone who loves next level health about this product. You can go to analemma-water.com. Again, that is analemma-water.com, analemma-water.com. Use the code HTH10 at checkout for 10% off. You will not regret this. It's almost the holidays coming up, and I want to make sure that if you have one of these in your household, then all of the water in your home, in your bodies, will be at an optimum state. I am so excited about this. Analemma Water, ANALEMMA-water.com, using the code HTH10 for 10% off. You do not want to miss this product.
So, it's actually a pretty common thing actually for women in Korea who like move to the US and like notice that and would always go back to Korea to get their feminine care products. So I think after doing this for years, she and her now co-founders wanted to figure out how to make these better products available here and more accessible. So,
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the entire line basically is focused around female care, period care, and overall comfort for female health. What are some of the products that you all have so that we can start to paint a picture for the type of brand that you are building out? What are the types of products?
Yeah, so we're a little bit different. And I would say that we are truly rethinking what period care really means. For so long, it's been really one-dimensional, right? It's been focused around that 1 week that you've been bleeding, but your cycle is 4 weeks, it's 28 days, and there's so much going on throughout your body, from your skin to your menstrual cramps to your energy levels throughout the month, based on which phase you're in. So I would say, at Rael, we are really connecting the dots between what's happening in your hormones, in your hormonal cycle, and what's happening in your skin and your stomach, in your mind. So some of the products that we offer, some of our most popular ones are, our organic cotton period care line. We also have a reusable line because we are also thinking about how to reduce waste overall. And then when it comes to skin, it's our number one pain point when it comes to PMS, like it's hormonal breakout. So we actually have a whole line of clean beauty products and an acne care line that is made with natural ingredients and things that are very gentle for your skin. So you can really almost kind kind of sync your skincare with like what's happening throughout the 4 phases of your cycle too.
That is incredible. I feel like so often we get stuck into basically just feeling like we are stuck with having these breakouts during our period, thinking, oh my gosh, it's just that time of the month. In a week, it'll be better. And I'll just go back to my daily skincare routine, the same one that I've had for 2 years, that type of situation. But if we actually, I feel like it could make it a more or a less chaotic experience the entire cycle, to be able to almost look forward to, oh, I love getting to use this skincare product when I'm on this part of my cycle, or I know I get super oily, so I have this, or I know all of these different things. But you mentioned something that I'd like to dive into. It's the actual application, and not the reusable, but the organic tampons. And do you use organic pads as well, or organic cotton in the pads? So can we talk about the importance of having organic materials in tampons? Because nothing freaks me out more thinking that I'm inserting like bleach and chemicals and fragrances into my vagina. Like that is something that we do not think about, but it spends 8 hours at a time up there for 7 days nonstop. Can we talk about that?
Yes, let's talk about it. It's crazy because I actually came from the beauty industry and I worked in the beauty industry before joining Rael. And I remember when I first started talking to the founder that, we spend so much time trying to figure out which lipstick shade to buy or which brand has the best concealer. But to your point, we never think twice about what this tampon we're putting inside of the most absorbent part of your body for up to 8 hours at a time a day for a week is made out of.
It can be in there. Sometimes people don't even take it out to shower, that it's in and out, and then you replace it immediately. It's like no break.
Exactly. And if you're a heavy tampon user in specific, that's a lot of time to be exposed to certain ingredients that you probably don't want. So, I think traditionally, in period care products like pads and tampons, a lot of them are made out of plastics and styrofoams, which terrible for the environment, but also just not great to have next to your skin for that long of time. And there are ingredients in some of these conventional products like acetone, which is nail polish remover, and styrene, which is a chemical that's found in car tires. So oh
my gosh. Do you remember when Subway had that huge PR debacle where they were using the same ingredient that's in yoga mats in their bread, and people were like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? But it's actually, yes, it's a big deal, but it is so much more common than we think. I picture it. If you order something fast fashion, like we ordered a rug for our dog the other day because he's really old, he can't really walk, so he needs carpet underneath him. And so we ordered a rug for him on the hardwood. And when I opened up the rug, I could smell chemicals and like formaldehyde that do you know what I mean? It's that fast fashion. I know that this was just like pressed, made, done, wrapped so that it's totally fine to transport. And I just thought, damn, I wish that we had done a little more research, but like 80-20. But I just felt bad. I'm like, this dog, he has his whole body is right next to these chemicals. And think about that with your tampons, and that's going up inside of you where your reproductive organs are right beside you. It's starting to get a little bit colder, and I'm going to the mountains next weekend with some girlfriends for a birthday party. So we're going to be up there. It is higher altitudes. It is a little bit drier. It's also going to get into the 30s and 40s at night. So what I am absolutely not going to miss bringing are my 2 favorite Organifi products. And I always travel with the greens juice. I think that has been very clear. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know that I am a massive fan of the greens juice. I have it every morning before coffee. It has the adaptogens, the minerals, the nutrients, and everything that you need without making my blood sugar go crazy in the morning. And it doesn't really break my fast, which is really great. And the flavor is nice and mild and not overwhelming. But I want to tell you also about the chocolate gold. So I think that when we are up at the mountain house, we're going to be sitting outside a lot. We're going to drink our coffee in the morning. We're going to go in the hot tub at night. And I want to make sure that I have a hot chocolatey beverage. If they want to put some Kahlua in it, that's fine. But I know that I'm also getting some nutrients in there as well. But the chocolate gold is my holiday, seasonal, even just evening favorite. You have to check this out. You can check out Organifi.com/HTH for 20% off. These are 20% off of all of my favorite products, along with any that you want to try out. My favorites are the greens juice as well as the chocolate gold. And of course, there's the protein powder, and I just don't have time to talk about all of these today. But if you want the most high quality, organic, glyphosate residue friendly, heavy metal detoxed products and supplements out there, Organifi is your go-to. You can check out Organifi.com/HTH for 20% off. Organifi.com. Check out the greens juice and the chocolate gold. Yesterday, I was walking on the beach and I wanted to just listen to some calm music. I wanted to do maybe a little bit of stretching. I had this patch of beach where there was nobody else around. It was a Sunday. It was sunny. It was perfect. So first thing I did, of course, was grab my phone, and not to do any scrolling, but to really tap into my mindfulness practice. I thought, what is a better opportunity? My feet are in the sand, they're in the earth, and nothing feels better than maybe doing a mini meditation. Sometimes the opportunity just presents itself. That is why I am absolutely in love with Open. Open is the only app that offers breathwork, meditation, and movement classes. You can do unlimited live, on-demand classes. You can also just do any classes that you want. They upload new classes all the time. Not only is there Pilates, yoga, stretching, but there's also breathwork and meditation. I actually did a 3-minute breath work yesterday, followed by an 8-minute meditation on the app. And this was a meditation for clarity and groundedness and not anything wild. It was really just to make sure that my mindset was staying in the present moment. And I find that when I do this app and when I use this app, it changes the rest of my day. It's not just that in that moment I'm feeling really present. It is following that moment that I'm feeling really present. It's for the rest of the day. It provides you with a feeling that you can tap into later on in the day when you're not feeling at your best, or you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling out of your body. So that is why I absolutely love Open. You know that I had a couple of the yoga instructors and creators on the podcast a few months ago. Make sure you check out that episode, but you can check out withopen.com/hotter, and you can use the code HOTTER to give it a try for 30 days for free. Again, it's unlimited live and on-demand breathwork, meditation, yoga, Pilates, and more. The breathwork and the meditation are definitely my favorite. Go to withopen.com/hotter for 30 days for free. And if you don't absolutely love it, well, that's just too bad, because it's life-changing. Check out the Open app, withopen.com/hotter.
Exactly. And I know, you know this stuff. And I know that, this is definitely picking up steam. Like, women are becoming more and more conscious of it. And I'm so happy for it. But there's a long way to go in terms of how many people are actually using organic products and thinking about it versus the rest of the women who, again, are not quite there yet and haven't really been enlightened about what's actually in their period care products. And a lot of that too, for a long time, ingredients weren't required on boxes. So, and that's just a scary thing. Why is that not a requirement?
Well, but think about it. If you're out there buying a box of pasta, or if you're buying food in a bag, you're looking at the ingredients. It's not uncommon to think, oh, ingredients. But I remember I said to a girlfriend, because she was running to Target and she was about to come meet me. I was like, oh my gosh, can you please pick me up some tampons? And she was like, yeah, do you want pearl or what size? And I was like, no, there's these cardboard boxes that have organic ones. They are the exact same. She's like, really? Ew. And I go, read the ingredients. And she goes, what are you talking about, ingredients? There's people don't think of it, since it's a physical product, just because you're not eating it there are still ingredients. Do you know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
just, it's not a concept. What is the difference? What can the difference for our bodies be when we switch from conventional chemical plastic tampons to the organic? What can those differences be?
Yeah. I mean, I would really think about how you actually feel when you're using these organic products or when you make that switch. And I think, you know, especially for things like pads where it's up against your skin for a really long time too, there's like that stickiness and those chemicals actually interacting with your skin and causing rashes and causing things that you normally wouldn't have if you were using something a bit more natural. So, for example, our top selling product since the birth of Rael is our organic cotton cover pad. And it's made with this really super soft organic cotton from Texas and is so plush that consumers are always telling us, it's like your vulva sitting on a little pillow and it's just so comfortable.
Oh my gosh, that
Which
is
is,
so good.
yeah. Yeah. And so it's about making sure that the experience is really good for the consumer. And, I think it can range person to person, but, if given the choice and knowing these things, why would you not choose the cleaner option?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
why would
think
you not try to, do something a bit better for your body, especially with like these days, a lot of the fertility issues that women are dealing with, and it's becoming an increasing problem. So
I think that there's an underlying stigma that is, again, there's going to be a whole evolution of the relearning of these things. But the same way, if I used to make, 5 years ago, I would make brown rice pasta and people would be like, ew, it's not real pasta. And now it's the norm for people to have lentil and chickpea pasta. It's the norm. So it had to be rebranded. It had to be the whole space had to be interrupted. I think there's this notion for some reason that these products, they might not work as well because they're organic. I'm like, that's not the case at all, especially from the ones that I have found. But these products work just as well. Can you talk about how these actually might work better absorbency wise than chemicals and all of these fragrance ingredients?
yeah, sure. So in terms of performance, I mean, period care products specifically need to perform, right? Like, regardless of how clean and gentle something is, the number one thing is that they have to work and they have to work well. And so product performance is something that we are putting at the utmost importance as we're developing these things. So it's not so much comparing like a fragrance-free version versus one with fragrance, but in terms of like historically how natural products were seen, they were kind of seen as like less effective, right? Like if you're using like in the old days of like the first like natural beauty product out there, or to your point around like brown rice pasta, like not being accepted as the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely that stigma too with period care. Cause I do think, with some of the older natural versions, they would just simply not work. So even if you were looking for that safer, or you were just a more conscious shopper early on, you were disappointed because ultimately, like, you can't, as much as you love organic products, you don't want to leak through your pants. So
Mm-hmm.
our products are always tested against kind of that highest standard in terms of performance and efficacy without having to sacrifice that, which I think is really key to have both.
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing. You can have both. You really can. And I let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it, because I know every single, and yeah, this episode might not be for the men, but at the end of the day, if you're around any women, it has to do with you. So we have all had the experience of wearing something white and looking to our friend and be like, hey, can you check my pants? Or, hey, can you make sure that this isn't happening? Or you've been wearing something all day and you haven't had the opportunity to change it, or you're traveling and you just feel dirty, you feel gross, you feel disgusting. You mentioned something that I don't know much about, which is reusable. Can you go into that? What are the products that you guys offer that is reusable, and please paint a picture of how we might use these products.
Yeah. No, it is kind of a newer thing. But we do offer a reusable line. So this consists of our reusable pads, liners, menstrual cups, which I think have become a bit more popular. And with these products, you can actually reuse them up to 120 times on average. So for years, you can be using the same pads and liners. I know it's kind of crazy,
Oh my gosh.
but I'll focus more on the pads and liners because I feel like cups people maybe they know more about. But you know, with the design of our organic cotton cover pads, we are very conscious about using organic ingredients, not only for us as consumers and people, but also because it's better for the environment than using plastics and styrofoams. But when we think about long term, how do we really create something that's sustainable and, you know, the best in class in terms of what we're like the environmental impact is with these reusable pads, which are also made with organic cotton and also some other materials to help with the waterproofing. And you snap it on just like a normal pad. It has these great little buttons that wrap around like the bottom of your panty. And you use them as you would normally use a pad. And when you're done with it, you throw them into the wash and they come out completely clean. So yeah, it's pretty brilliant. And it's definitely for someone who definitely like is a bit more adventurous, I would say, in the scale of options. But they work great. And you know, they're also really great for cost savings because you're not constantly going out and buying, you know, new boxes of period care products. You can reuse the ones that you have.
I feel like it's also would be a really great for someone on maybe not the first day of your period. Well, I'm sorry. This is just personal. This is just personally me speaking. The last 2 days of my period are really, really light and kind of nothing. And I'm always like, you know, that uncomfortable feeling when you don't necessarily need a regular or whatever size tampon and you wear it and it's dry and it's uncomfortable and you're like, I wish I wasn't using this because it's empty, but I didn't want to risk not wearing one. It sounds like that could also be the perfect time to start trying that product out where it's not going to be Niagara Falls and it's not like a too super kind of day. That's like where I can picture, because I think it's just a matter of trying it. You know, it's just the beginning. Do you personally use all of these products?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, working at Rael and also constantly developing new innovation in period care, I'm using everything. And, you know, I think the use case that you just described, like, you know, maybe it's the tail end of your period where you're more open to just trying just in case. I think that's a perfect time to try something like a reusable pad. We also have reusable period underwear, which is actually when it's the underwear that absorbs the period blood. And so, yeah, I mean, after really learning more about all of this, I've really become like a mix and match type of user. Like there are definitely moments where I still use tampons, but you know, to that point, it's a lot harder to pick exactly the right tampon for the right, like, you know, the flow that you're dealing with that day or, you know, during that time of month. So, you know, it's really important that you find that right absorbency because using a tampon that's much higher in absorbency than you should on that day can also lead to, you know, like dryness and also some tearing inside of your vagina. So, you know, I think when you're a little bit unsure, it's always best to kind of let it come out and use things like, you know, whether it's like a more absorbent liner or a thinner pad or a reusable pad to help manage that.
That sounds about right, because there is just something about knowing that there is something inside your body for that long of a time and like you're sleeping in it and you're moving around in it. And also I don't know, there's just something about knowing that you have to be carrying around all these products and you have to be on it and you have to know, but that's okay. So that's how I know that we are moving forward in this space. Like, okay, we're getting rid of the feeling of, okay, these are gross. We don't need to talk about it in public, but we actually do, because 50% of the population deals with this. Well, however many females there are, deals with this all the time. And it starts at age like 13. So it's not that this is happening the majority of your life. I want to talk about it in the sense of the cycle. You talk a lot at Rael about the entire gamut, really making sure that you're supporting feminine care during every phase of the cycle. Let's talk about the different phases of the cycle. What do they need? What do they not need? And what do they mean?
Yeah. So your period is just one out of the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. So in your monthly cycle, there are 4 phases again. So menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. And throughout those 4 phases, essentially your hormones are kind of fluctuating throughout. So you might have different cross sections of highs and lows. And that brings about a lot of different physical change in your body and also emotional change, right? Like your mood and your energy levels also are so different week to week if you really pay attention. And depending on which stage you're in, you might be going through some hormonal imbalances, like oilier skin than you normally have, maybe lower energy, but then maybe some positive things like higher energy, more confidence, even like higher facial symmetry during certain weeks of the month.
Wait, please go off on that, because I feel like sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I have like complete slack jaw on one side, but then other times I'm like, oh my God, angelic, everything works. Yes. Why is that? I've never heard about that, but I've always felt it.
Yes. So that typically happens around your follicular phase, which is the 2nd week of your cycle. It's right when you're coming off of your period.
That's where I am right now. Yesterday was my last day. Okay, cool.
So this is your week to shine.
We are literally stuck inside with a hurricane. So fantastic.
Oh no.
I will just keep doing podcast interviews. Great.
But yes, like right after your period ends, you head right into what's called your follicular phase. So this is when your skin is in the best condition. It's glowy, it's plump, it's healthy. You're naturally producing more collagen and also hyaluronic acid in your skin. But also there's been research done saying that your face is actually slightly more symmetrical, which, they say is kind of the definition of beauty in a weird way. So it's really interesting, just like how much of a huge impact your hormonal phase and what you're in impacts like your outer appearance too. So that's actually how we design and think about our skincare line, because, obviously there are kind of daily needs within your skincare, like proper cleansing, moisturizing, but we have also thought about those specific skin concerns during different phases of the cycle. So, more recently we came out with a line called the Pore Control line, which is a really wonderful kind of addition to your daily regimen, where you can kind of pick and choose. For example, one of my favorite products is the Pore Control Clay Mask. And it's the perfect product to use like during your luteal phase, which is the week right before your period, because that's when you're starting to get really congested and you have higher oil production. You're also dealing with a lot of sensitivity. So it's a great like soothing product, but also a great exfoliating product that helps prevent, a lot of those menstrual breakouts that you oftentimes get during that time.
Build up, clog. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what is the best product for, selfishly, so the follicular phase tends to last a little bit longer, and it has the ovulatory phase. So you're feeling yourself, everything feels good. What is the best product to be using during those couple of weeks?
Yeah, so we always suggest maintaining your skincare routine. Like you're going to be glowing and looking great, but a proper skincare routine throughout the 4 phases is definitely important to kind of maintain your skin overall. But during that phase, it's a really great time to use any kind of treatments that help boost that collagen in your skin and that moisture, like take advantage of like where you're at. So one product that we highly recommend is using our collagen sheet mask. So we actually have a set of sheet masks. There's 4 of them because each one is designed to go with the 4 weeks of your cycle. So during that follicular phase, it's that collagen mask. And then after that, when you go into ovulatory, we recommend using our vitamin C sheet mask that week. After that is our luteal phase, where we use our tea tree mask. And then lastly, for menstrual, when your skin is actually feeling really dry and dehydrated, is the hydration mask, which has a lot of hyaluronic acid in it.
Amazing. I'm so excited because I just got a bunch of those, and sorry, my dog's super loud, but I just got those face masks, and tonight I will 1,000,000% be using the collagen. There's nothing that sounds better. So I was looking at the ingredients when I received this box. Gorgeous products, by the way. Also, they aren't incredibly fragrant. When I say that, I mean that in the best way possible. Sometimes you open up these toners or these mists or these packets and they smell like Fabuloso. They are so strong. And I feel like I don't want to put this on my skin. I feel like I'm huffing bleach. Can we talk about fragrances and how it can be disruptive and why you guys use natural, actual natural, not just like synthetic fragrances? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we do not use any type of artificial fragrances in our products, mostly because we really think about like the core of our consumer who has really sensitive skin, and most fragrances, regardless of whether they're artificial or not, can be irritating. And it just feels like an unnecessary ingredient, and we try to keep our formulas as clean as possible. A lot of times, there are a lot of brands who use like harsher chemicals and preservative systems, fragrances in their products that are really the things that are making you break out sometimes, or like making your skin condition worse. And so we really avoid anything that there's research on that has any type of effect on, endocrine disruption or not approved for sensitive skin. Because again, like we hold ourselves to a really high standard, and we do not include anything that isn't essential to the actual health of your skin, if that makes sense.
And I feel like once you loosen up the reins on what you allow into your products, then you're not even status quo. It's just you lose what sets Rael apart. And we mentioned something in the beginning, but we didn't really get to tap in on this. The founders of Rael they were Korean, and they focused on Korean beauty, and they knew that skincare and high quality ingredients were incredibly important. It seems like they also brought back some traditional maybe scents or feelings, textures, like an essence of Korean beauty into the product line. Can you touch on that? Is that something that they really wanted to make sure was in there, especially with like the tea tree oil and the vitamin C?
Yes, absolutely. So many of our ingredients in our skincare products are actually naturally derived from Korea and inspired by Korean traditions. And, for example, in our acne care line, we use an ingredient called mugwort, which is a plant grown in Jeju Island in South Korea, which is also known as the Hawaii of South Korea because it's so rich in like minerals. It's a volcanic island. So there's a lot of great kind of nutrient rich vegetation there. So mugwort in particular is pretty unknown in the US. Like you don't really see it much here. And it's been used actually for centuries for medicinal and wellness purposes. Like, for example, many Korean women actually drink mugwort tea for their menstrual cramps and like regulating their menstrual cycles.
Okay. See, this is what we want to hear. Like, I want to hear give me the weirdness, give me the, not weirdness, but what's not in our day to day. So mugwort. Okay. So mugwort
Yeah.
tea noted. We'll have to get it shipped. Okay.
Yes. Yes. But we actually use it also for its skin benefits because it's really great at like anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and soothing benefits. So it's one of the key ingredients that are used in our Miracle Clear line, which has been extremely popular with our consumers. And, along that note, we often focus too on what we want to eat and when it comes to periods. Like we talk about our cravings and binges that usually happen, but we don't really think too much about how to nourish your body during that time. Because when you're menstruating, your body's actually going through a lot. Like there's a reason why you're tired, and there's a reason why sometimes you want to eat like a ravenous, animal.
Like a horse. Uh-huh.
Right. Right. And so another Korean ritual and philosophy when it comes to period care is the idea of keeping your stomach warm and eating warming foods. So one popular dish that I just want to share is a Korean seaweed soup. And so it's served piping hot and is so rich in iron, fiber, calcium, iodine, and is just like the perfect thing for your menstrual phase. But it's so good for you that it's actually an ancient postpartum recovery food. And still to this day, when Korean women give birth, they eat it and only this for 30 days straight.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was listening to something, and this girl gave birth, but she was seeing a naturopath, a Korean naturopath before her birth, and they gave her 275,000 different types of herbs, and they told her to make this soup. And it wasn't told to only eat this, but they go keep it in a crock pot all the time, freeze it in batches and batches. And it was this brown looking seaweed type soup. So, and she said that it completely changed both of her pregnancies. She said, okay, the first pregnancy, she did not do this. Second pregnancy, everything changed. Like even the way that the baby ate felt like she was getting the baby so much more nourishment because of what was in it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I mean, cool. It's crazy when you think about like how to just properly nourish your body and like all the great that can come out of it, like for yourself, for your baby. Mm-hmm. I mean, this one dish in particular is just kind of like a famous dish in Korea because it's kind of a cure-all for everything you're going through. Like it's even great for breast milk supply and constipation relief, especially when you just give birth, like that's a big issue. And by the way, also during your menstrual phase, there's such a thing as period poops. And
okay, wait, I have to interrupt. We have 2 minutes left on this recording. When this shuts off, I'm going to send a new link to Caitlin, and we'll hop right back on and pick back up where we left off. So period poops, let's get into it. I completely agree.
Okay, great.
Well, we can keep going now, and then
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so period poops, it's so funny. There's nothing that's too TMI in the Rael headquarters because we talk about all sorts of fun things like this. But
you are on the right podcast.
But yes, like as it relates to hormones and what's happening, you have extremely like high levels of progesterone during your PMS phase, so the luteal phase, which is like right before your period. So that's when you're like almost compulsively eating sometimes.
Yes, like your metabolism is so much higher at that point. It's like revving up.
Yes. And then afterwards, because of your hormones too, it ends up slowing down your digestion. And sometimes people really deal with like high levels of constipation. So that's one group of people. And, for that, I think it's about upping, of course, your fiber, your exercise, and all of that. But also there's a group of people who experience like a huge release during their menstrual phase too. So it really depends on the person, but there's a clear correlation between how your menstrual phase is tracking and also your poop cycles.
So some people experience a huge release and others might experience more constipation. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting thing because one, it affects people a little bit differently, but there is a clear pattern between what's happening in your menstrual cycle and also what's happening with your poop cycle. And so it's really that moment, like right when your period begins, when your cells that make up your uterus, it actually starts producing more of what's called prostaglandins, and these chemicals actually smooth the muscles in your uterus. And that's why for a lot of people, you just like have a huge release. And so,
Oh,
yeah, there is science behind it. It's not just you. I'm sure I've thought that before too, but it's actually all related to what's happening with your hormones.
I think I experience more of a release, but it's definitely different shapes. It's definitely not
Yeah.
quite the same, but I get what you mean by like the loosening of that area, the smoothing of that area.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that we can all feel a lot more because usually we just hear about period poops and we're like, well, why do we have to deal with everything?
Yeah.
Why do we
Yeah.
have to
It's
deal
like
with
add it to the
everything?
list. Exactly.
Like everything is 28 days and this is for a regular period. It's hard though because now with so much birth control out there, it's also I have so many clients that are, I try and help them eat and work out around their cycle as well as part of it, but a lot of them don't know when their cycle is, or they don't
Hmm.
have a specific, maybe they don't ovulate, and it kind of puts them into this weird perimenopause situation. And if you don't know when your cycle is or what your cycle is, that actually might be a good time for people to start using the pads and like the reusable if they just end up spotting throughout the month. Just
Yeah.
clip that
Yeah,
sucker in.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's super interesting to think about all of the advances also within birth control and the many options that have popped up over the years. Like there were only actually like a few if I think about it like growing up. But what's interesting is like when we do events in person, like it's one of my favorite times to just talk to people and like learn what they're doing. A lot of young women, are not interested in really learning about pads and tampons because they're like, oh, I don't need it. I don't get my period. And I'm like, oh my God, you're 14. Like, how do how are you already like,
Yeah.
using like IUDs? And it's really interesting, like how popular they've become and how differently to like the different needs that women have,
Mhm.
especially with the younger generation.
How may I ask how old are you, Sora?
Yeah, you can ask. I'm 33.
Okay, you're 33, you have zero pores, you are a goddess. And what I notice, because I'm 29, I'll be 30 in March, but I notice that the kids who are girls who are 12 to 15 now look like
Oh
I
yeah.
wish I had looked when I was 21. I'm thinking I don't understand. Like I feel like birth control and all of the different options for makeup and fillers and Botox at such a young age, it's whatever. It makes people look and appear to be so much older than they are. And I swear that the level of maturity that you appear to have will affect your insides. I really think that like people are going to start aging more rapidly, which is shocking because we have so many advancements in technology and in health and in the world, but I just feel like they're all coming to a head where people are aging faster because they want to appear to fit into this really advanced technology.
Yeah.
I just had all these
Yeah.
thoughts. I don't know if that makes sense. I think I'm just
No,
loving those words, but
no, I mean, the more you talk about it, it just reminds me too, like, I totally see it when I see really young women. I'm like, I can't tell how old you are
at all. When I was
at
12, I was
all.
wearing like pink lip gloss on my eyelids because I didn't
Right.
know how to I didn't know how to put makeup on.
Right. But what you're saying around maybe like premature aging and, you know, it makes me just think too, a lot of times I see really like heavy makeup on young women. And, of course, like I love makeup. It's great to express yourself and feel confident, all those things. But a lot of makeup and most makeup contains, again, like a ton of chemicals. Like they're, just you name it. And the more you put on for a longer period of your life, I'm sure it has some type of impact. And it's just something, for people to think about as they introduce, like I don't know, when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until a certain age. And I'm like, I don't know if that's still a thing and that's still a rule.
No, oh, okay. I'm so sorry. So we went to a Japanese Montessori school for several years when I was younger. My sister and I did. And it was Mr. Takeda and Mrs. Takeda. And it was in a little tiny house. I'm talking, there were 12 to maybe 17 kids, and we had carpet squares and we would just learn shapes. It was very Montessori, hands-on, not very off the grid way to learn, which I am obsessed with now looking back. But at the time I was like, we're just playing with Jello cups. What are we doing? But I remember our teacher, my sister was always a lot girlier than me, and she loved fashion and hair and makeup and all these things. And she just wanted to be cool. And she was. And I remember she got yelled at because she must have been 7. I was probably 5. And she was wearing these bright blue eyelids for makeup. And I remember Mr. Takeda yelled at the entire class and pointed at her and was zeroing her out. He was like, God did not want us to be born with blue eyelids. And he made her scrub it all off. And it was one of the only experiences of my childhood that reaffirmed when that transition was happening and when things started to really happen, that people were thinking, I can't believe that young girls are wearing makeup like this. This is for adults. This is for costume. This is not for wearing day to day. That was like the first thing that I really recognized. And it was because also his culture was not about that at all. They wanted natural, clean, clear, that type of thing. And I just thought that was so interesting. This is bringing up so much.
Yeah. It's super fascinating. And like, it goes back to just like memories of like being in that place, like being that age and going to school and learning to figure out how to be a woman, right? Like growing into your body, like getting your first period and managing that in school. Like one thing that I feel like is a shared experience probably for all women is like
I already know where you're going.
The tampon up the sleeve moment.
Oh,
right?
No.
Oh, okay. Or like, can you check my butt to see if I leaked? Like that type of thing. And so it's just interesting. Like there's so much to it that, the more we can educate ourselves and like prepare also younger women as they're experiencing all of this for the first time, it just like sets us up to feel our best, because for so long we've just been feeling so shameful, right? Like we're just kind of brainwashed to think like this is something I need to hide. I need to hide my tampon up my sleeve instead of just something that is so natural to your body.
I'm like, do you want me to hide my pregnant belly someday when I'm pregnant? Or you're going to know that I'm not having a period. And also, like, I don't understand why it's shameful to talk about sex. Like, I'm not going to talk about it in a board meeting. It's time and place. But I just don't see why. We are all here because someone put a penis in a vagina, and we are all here because that vagina was able to ovulate, which means that person had a period. Like all of these things are not changing. These are, this is going to happen. Okay. Little rapid fire before we head out. What is your favorite Rael product?
Oh, my absolute favorite is like actually
number one.
It's our heating patch. So I did not talk about this, but
I have some. I'm so excited. Oh my God.
Okay. Yay. So you definitely have to try those. So I deal with a lot of cramps, like, during like, I would say like my first day or two during my menstrual phase. And, I used to always take Advil, and there was a moment where I was like, I take Advil every single month for 40 years of my life. Like that doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't feel right. And so, I love the heating patch because it's basically like an adhesive sticker. You put it on top of like your panty, or like, which is like a thin layer of clothing, and it heats up, it stays warm for 8 hours. So you're not like connected to the wall with like a electric heating pad. You can actually walk around, go to work, like do what there it is.
Literally holding it right now.
She's holding up her heating pad.
For people who aren't watching, which is everyone, because we're not on YouTube right now with video, I put this is 2 feet long and a foot wide, and I put it in the back of my pants and then use my bra strap to keep it fastened to my back during my period, because but again, it goes back to the Korean way of keeping your belly warm.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So I really have to.
And you can use it on your back too. It's we have larger ones that you can put on your back, and just if you have like more pain, but I love that product. And, you know, I don't use Advil anymore, and it's great.
Amazing. Okay. So that's your favorite product. What is your favorite, and this does not have to be healthy, what is your favorite menstrual phase meal or luteal phase meal as you're craving more?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know if there's any science behind this or why I crave this so much, but it's just my comfort food. Like I cannot stop eating spaghetti and meatballs. Like it's been my comfort food for since I can remember, like anytime I'm having like a moment. But yeah, it's just my go-to, and I typically crave it. Like maybe it's the protein. I have no idea.
I was going to say, it sounds like the iron and the red meat, and then like the starchy carbohydrates that you want when you're okay.
There you go. That makes me feel better.
Okay. You're like cracking up a can of SpaghettiOs and having a moment. Okay. And then for the future of this space, what are you most looking forward to in the advancement of feminine care?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is really that I hope to take away from all this is that we should really be thinking more holistically about our health and our hormones and our periods. Like it's again, like we've been treating our periods very much like injuries in the past, like you take Advil to stop the pain and you put a Band-Aid on to stop the bleeding. But as we all know now, it's so much more than that. It impacts 40 years of your life and your mood, your energy every single day. So it's really about thinking more holistically and being in tune with your body. And so I hope that, you know, people really start changing the way they think about just periods and think about really how do I take care of myself during my whole cycle?
Amen to that, Sora. And we are going to do a mini giveaway. Can you explain what we're going to do in the giveaway? Because you mentioned something earlier that sounded really badass, and you do a better job of talking about
it. Sure. Yes. So for our lucky winner, we will be gifting a full holistic cycle care set from Rael. So that's everything that's going to take you through your 4 phases, from your skin to your actual period, to the heating patch, which is, you know, soon to be, I'm sure, Eliza's fave too, I hope. But yes, that's what we're going to be giving away to help introduce like this idea of cycle care.
I'm so excited to try all of these products, and I just appreciate your mission, and I'm so excited. I think that it's amazing to bring cultures together in a way that is still just about the body. It's about the human and how we can nourish and prosper during these different phases. So all you have to do to win this amazing package is go to the most recent post on Instagram on the Hotter Than Health Instagram page. Leave your favorite part of this episode and what you loved so much about it, and you will be entered in to win. Easy peasy, all is good. You can also leave it on the reel. You know how it goes. But thank you so much. Where can everybody find Rael on social media?
Yes, thank you. So you can find Rael on Instagram at GET_RAEL. So at Get Rael. And then you can also find us on TikTok, which is a really fun place to kind of learn more about your hormones and all the different aspects of your period.
I am so excited for this. Thank you so much. And I hope you just enjoy the rest of your day. And this was so informative.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a great time, and I hope everyone took something away from it.
Thank Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Hotter Than Health. If you want to win that package from Rael Beauty, all you need to do is head to the Instagram Hotter Than Health podcast. Make sure you let us know your favorite part of this episode on my most recent post, and you will be entered in to win. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining us, and come back next Thursday. We are going to have more juicy episodes, more founders, more value, more tips and tricks for your health and wellness lifestyle. Again, if you haven't already, go ahead and head over to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and tune in next Thursday. We'll see you then.